Welcome to Denver Theory Lab.
Denver Theory Lab? Okay.
Denver Theory Lab. Let's do it.
Welcome to Denver Theory Lab. I'm Jesse.
And I'm Kyle.
I'm Scott.
And we have a guest today. His name is Scott. Scottie. On Denver Theory Lab, we aim to investigate and explore theoretical and practical ideas, conspiracies, events, and practices from an objective point of view to expand our range of thinking. You can make donations at Denver Theory Lab on PayPal at Denver Theory Lab. You can contact us on Facebook, Instagram, or email us at denvertheorylab@gmail.com. Please send us any questions, comments, or topic suggestions. All right. Scottie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your worldview and your passions and whatnot?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I'm a big supporter of self-care, earth care, and people care. That's all of what I do in all of its different forms. We just finished our trash hike season finale where our community, every Monday all season, we've been picking up the South Platte River and all of its tributaries like the Lakewood Gulch and the Weir Gulch. We reached 1,020 buckets of trash pulled out of our rivers.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, 57 people helping out. We started Frog Hollow Park, worked our way through the city past past Rhino and Globeville.
Cleaning up Denver.
Yeah. So I do that. I'm also a big community builder. I host free weekly gatherings for the community after a popular ecstatic dance. So all that I do is aim towards that. As far as mindsets go, I'm all about this idea that the map is not the territory. Our symbols are not what they symbolize, and the finger isn't what it's pointing at. They're all just good maps. And just like any explorer, you want to have multiple maps to work with. You want to be able to take that topographical map with your meteorological map and plan yourself a hike. So I love exploring different mindsets, different models of reality, and ultimately seeing if I can create a combination of maps. There's a photo or a camera with 16 different lenses, and each of those lenses are a different aperture, they're a different setting and frame rate, and when they go off, they all fire together. And they're able to compile that image, take the close-ups, take the background shot, make it one of the most high-definition resolutions as possible. So, as a philosophical photographer...
Is that what they call that, the aura photos? Is that what that is when they...
Are we talking about taking a photo of someone's aura?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've never understood how they actually do that, but is that the camera technique you just said? Is that how they do that?
I'm not entirely sure. I believe Curlian photography is the aura photographs.
Okay.
So ideally, I would make that one of the lenses firing off, because just like butterflies and bees can see UV rays that we can't, there's models of reality that underlie what's going on that we have no way of understanding.
Wow. I love it, dude. So 1,200 buckets?
1,020 buckets.
1,020 buckets.
Yeah.
You said you're having a hard time finding dirty spaces now.
Yeah. So doing it every Monday, we've gamified it. So we have a spreadsheet that tracks everybody's bucket numbers. And I've been in a heated battle with Andy trying to get the number one trash hiking spot. So every time we go out, we're just, man, I've chased after trash before.
So where does your group meet? Or where could somebody find you guys if they wanted to join and help, cleaning up the river and cleaning up cleaning up the nature around our area.
Yeah, absolutely. So trash hiking season just ended with this last hike. So it's all the off season, but there's plenty of stuff going on in the off season. We created a Discord channel where people can post upcoming hikes. They can post where the trashy areas are. They can post the trophy photos of them. Like we always do a group photo at the end of each hike. And it's just, there's an importance to ritual and building community by doing these same things. And whether it's the trophy photo at the end or calling out trash hikers assemble and having everybody come out of the woodwork, it's that ritual that makes it such a beautiful thing. But if you're trying to find us, you can find us at linktree/trash hikes. So linktr.ee/trash hikes. And that gives you a link to the Instagram, the Facebook, the Discord, the text invites. You can see our impact tracker. Like that's the go-to. So that's the goal this season. I've been so busy, but we want to reach out and get to more people because we want to unite the trash hiking tribes. There's the Lakewood Gulch Grabbers, and they have a meeting every Tuesday. I forget the exact details, but regardless, there's numerous communities that are doing the same thing and getting like-minded people together to make the world a better place.
Yeah, well, I love that you guys are doing that. I mean, I like taking my dogs to the local parks in the area, especially the ones that have water. And my dog loves getting in the water, and I'm always kind of weary anytime I see her drinking it or anything like that. But there are some nice parks around here that the water looks pretty good. I still don't recommend letting your dogs drink the running water you find randomly in Denver, but outside. But nonetheless, it's nice to be able to go to the park and see it. It looks clean, and there's not trash everywhere, or a trash river or trash creek floating down the way. So I love that people even meet and do that. It's pretty cool.
You were telling me the other night that you guys do gardens too.
So the garden parties I've been doing here and there throughout the years, but in the next year or two, we're ramping up, and it's all about community permaculture landscaping.
What is a garden party?
A garden party is when you get a bunch of people out there, you get some music going, you get some food and beverages, and you have a great time doing either a seed starting party where you're really cultivating the earth, or a weeding party. There's so many ways that people can get together to do good things, and the garden is such a beautiful platform for it.
But I mean, is it just a party in a garden, or are people meeting to plant seeds
It's
or
a
exchange
planting party.
seeds?
It's a party to make a garden party.
But I mean, are you doing it on site, or is it people like, hey, we're going to get together and exchange seeds and that sort of thing?
You could do that too.
We're on site. We are spending the day working on whatever projects we planned out to do. And then at the end, invite some local artists to play some music and relax in the garden that we just built together.
Are these community gardens around the area?
So
Were you talking about turning this into a business too, kind of?
yeah, so this is the kind of the nonprofit side, or the for-profit side of the nonprofit. What I've been working on doing is cultivating a community center. Right now it's DIY out of my house with a bunch of roommates, but we're working on buying property and then having the co-buyers each have a slice of the pie, and then one slice of the pie for the community land trust. And then as the community puts on events and different businesses, this one included, that community land trust gets larger, gets a larger slice of the pie. Then once the mortgage is paid off, the land trust starts to buy out equity from the other co-tenants. So that way, whoever put into this project gets that much out, and they also get to leave a legacy. So now we have a third space. We have a community center that's in a land trust, so we can gather for free together to work on self-care, earth care, and people care.
It's a beautiful idea. I think every time people try stuff like that, they get accused of being in a commune. You know, I think that's usually about the loop of how that happens. You know,
Hey, as long as it's not a cult, I'll take a
Right.
commune over a cult any day, right?
saying I'm with you. I'm with you. I've had that conversation with so many friends of just, you know, how much more beneficial it would be if, as we were trying to build our futures, if more people came together and said, "Hey, let's pool our resources. Let's get some land together, and we're all gonna." You know, then you have shared utility costs. You have a shared community, and you actually own the land. And if you do a good thing there, you know, if you got enough land, had people start businesses on it, who cares if it's a commune, if it's working, if you got that's how our neighborhood should be, you know, and all the HOAs should just be, your HOA should be your extended family, you know.
Yeah.
That's how it should be, to be able to say, yeah, go over 2 streets down. It's all your greater family tree, and everybody would have a little bit more stake in everything if that's how things worked.
Scottie, I showed you this video earlier tonight about this concept of planting a garden on a brick laid patio to where you would plant the seeds in between the cracks of the bricks. What do you think about this?
I think it's a fantastic concept. You'll find a lot of gardeners are already using a ground cover, whether that's biological, which is, you know, preferred, but landscaping fabric is used most of the time. And this landscaping fabric is made out of a form of polyester, form of plastic, and all of that eventually biodegrades back into the earth.
That can't be good.
Not good at all. So using actual stone as a way to create this weed resistant layer, I think it's genius.
And if I could be wrong on this, but regular bricks, like the red brick, if you were to break them down till they were in a powder and then put them in the soil, they're
clay.
good for the soil, right? Yeah. The clay is so. As the plants are going to grow in this is really cool. So we're listeners, you can't see what we're looking at right now, but we're looking at a video on Instagram of their growing a garden of really big plants, looks like lettuce and all sorts of other like crops,
Corn.
and they're growing it on what looks like a brick patio in the spaces in between the bricks, the cracks in between the bricks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea, and the bricks trap the moisture. It works as ground cover, so you don't have to weed as much.
And the roots have got to break up the bricks over time, adding clay to your soil.
Yeah, and I lost my train of thought. Oh. Yeah, bricks are cool.
Bricks are cool.
That's all I got right there. But yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. I saw this video and then immediately thought of you, Scottie.
There are so many ways to grow food where you're at in unconventional ways. And the more we start using these unconventional ways to really turn our continent back into a food forest.
You were telling me earlier tonight about a concept of upcycling a bunch of plastic bottles into an extruder and then basically 3D printing these structures to where you could build into your house or your structure or a wall, basically vertical gardens.
Yeah. So everybody should check out an organization called Precious Plastics. They are an open source DIY recycling organization. They're global, and they not only have a map of, so they make these machines that you can make yourself, and they recycle plastic. So there's a shredder, there's extruders, which is essentially heating up the particles and then turning it into a malleable rod. You can take that rod of molten plastic and then string it out to a specific diameter and then feed that into your 3D printers. So the dream is, or really the dream with the plan becomes a project. And the project is to use this technology, pair with the groundwork that Precious Plastics has already laid out, and then start making things like beautiful 3D printed wind turbines that look like kinetic sculptures that are all made out of recycled plastic, and making these garden planters. So if you imagine a Lego that's turned upside down and you fill it with soil and then stack other Legos on top of it, you can create a brick wall that has a living soil in it. And this is the vertical garden bed that you've just created on your home. You're recycling the water, so you're using 1/10 of the water supply as traditional agriculture. You are using vermiculture on the top, so all of those nutrients are naturally going through the system. And just like these bricks right here, there's only a small hole for the plant to go out of, so you don't have to weed the system either.
And vermiculture is like the natural like composting degradation of the plant matter that eventually trickles down to feed the plants.
That's accelerated with worms. Vermicomposting is worm composting.
Okay.
So you'd be creating these living systems, which, look down at your smartphone. We have great technology. And if we apply this technology in a good way, we can actually outgrow a lot of our problems. And imagine this smart garden that's set up outside your house. You turn all of your walls into vertical gardens. So that way, when people are looking back at 2025, they're like, man, all these houses were naked. There were no plants growing on this. And then, so multiple different ramifications of this. One of them is the universal plant-based income. So you can grow 30 different plants to create a bioplastic, like cassava, sunflowers, hemp. So you set up these systems that are growing themselves. And then at a certain time of the month, a gardener comes, harvests all those crops, and then they turn it into single-use, biodegradable, and compostable plastics. So now not only are you mitigating the plastic problem by turning it into vertical gardens, but you are then making the problem obsolete by switching over the system from petroplastics to bioplastics. Also, you can have a lot of fun with this. A lot of people are concerned about plastics getting into the soil and to the food,
right,
which is a real concern. And I have, this is all just open source, get the idea out there, which needs testing. But there's alternatives like hempcrete. If you use this same structure of a stackable garden planter with irrigation run through it, you can create hempcrete structures that are going to be even more robust, and there's no leaching. So that way you can grow the fruits and medicine that will really allow you to take autonomy and responsibility for your health.
And I mean, can it be designed in a way that, the only negative I could really see with putting plants on the outside of your home is if it's going to degrade your wall over time. So can it be designed in a way so it can be removable and people would be able to know with certainty that their wall isn't degrading wherever they have the plants growing? Oh,
it's actually going to protect your wall and insulate your home. So you're going to lower your energy costs because now you have a 6-inch layer of dirt surrounding your house. Mm-hmm. And because these systems are built, there's still a lot of product testing that's going into these, but they're solid structures. So, there's a lot of kinks to iron out.
Well, I'm just picturing if you have something just like I can't think of the name of it, but the things that people have on the side of a house to have vines grow up. If you had something like that, then you could just a lattice, yeah. Then you could just have a lattice-like structure that you attach this to. So basically, hang it on the house. Then you still got your layer of dirt as insulation. And man, if that was the future, that's the future we should be moving to, where people could have more neighborhood farmers markets, neighborhood garden markets instead. And the city could look like the hanging gardens of Babylon.
So talking about leaching, I found a video like yesterday or the day before that's claiming that we should throw our air fryers away. And after a little bit of research, I found that this lady has a child that has special needs, but she feeds him food from the air fryer twice a day. And she went to go get him tested for blood impurities, and antimony was like 95 percentile. And supposedly, air fryers have like aluminum and the Teflon coating, but antimony is some sort of insulator for maybe the wiring and a catalyst for some of the Teflon coatings, and it causes developmental delays, neurological damage, reproductive issue, and organ damage. After a little bit of research, it showed that, of course, the AI says, well, it's not that big a deal, and this and that. I'm not sure how much I believe of that, but it says some of the older models absolutely had problems with that. So I don't know. It kind of rung my bell and was like, wait a second. Of course, there's something wrong with this new age way of cooking everything that's supposed to be healthier.
Well, that's immediately where my mind went of, hey, if we got any new technology, odds are there's going to be something that was unforeseen that is, detrimental to our health that we end up learning about it.
So if you have an air fryer, research it.
Find out if it's
maybe throw your shit away.
Got giving you toxic chemicals.
Just use the regular oven. I don't know why that's a problem anymore.
All the alternatives seem like poison. When I and I only more recently learned about how dangerous the microwaves are. With apparently, while the microwave's operating, is incredibly dangerous. But they all have a seal that is supposed to keep the microwaves inside. But from what I had read here recently, apparently most microwave brands, that seal breaks within a matter of months. And we have our microwaves for years. And most people, especially when you're little, you just stand right in front of it looking at it,
You can take a fluorescent light bulb and kind of hold it up around the microwave while it's running to see if it's got radio leaks.
Oh, really?
That's how you would test it. If you can find a fluorescent light bulb anymore. I think they're all LED now. Oh. But an old fluorescent light bulb with the gas inside of it,
it would turn on?
It will light up if there's a leak. Kind of like spraying soapy water on a tire.
I need a fluorescent light bulb. See if I'm being microwaved by the one at home. That's a cool little trick. What else did we have here? Origin of Halloween?
What do you know about Halloween, Scotty?
It's St. Hallows Eve, the day before All Saints Day.
Yeah. All Hallows Eve is the day before All Saints Day, and it's the spiritual new year for a lot of occultists and whatnot. And supposedly the veil of living and spiritual or dead thins there, so it's easier to communicate with the dead. It was originally a Celtic holiday.
I know growing up and the Baptist community there, I was told that not celebrate Halloween. They told us it was the devil's birthday. They said we couldn't go out. The church would always hold some event instead to tell us to make sure to keep all the kids in the church on Halloween.
I was there with you, except I was able to sweet talk my mom into letting me go 1 or 2 years. The only stipulation had to wear the army of God, or wear the armor of God, where every little piece of costume I had a scripture attached to it.
Thankfully, my mom did not buy into that level of fear mongering for the holiday. I got to dress up and go trick or treat.
Whole new character of scripture,
right?
Scripture demon or something.
It's the devil. Just going to war with the devil.
Them's the devil.
And then they're like,
don't look any dirty pillows.
Oh, don't do it. And then they weaned me off of it. They're like, all right, this year, no trick or treating, but we're going to give you a bag of candy. And then the next year, no bag of candy.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
Life was rough without a real Halloween. So I'm glad I've kind of outgrown that.
What do you got on the history of All Hallows Eve, Kyle?
It looks like, according to the all-knowing mystics at ChatGPT, it has its roots in a Celtic festival. So among the Celts of Ireland, Scotland, and northern France, and I might mispronounce this, but it looks like Samhain, Samhain.
It's Celtic, and the Celts love to pronounce things incredibly weird. So it's actually pronounced Samhain.
Samhain,
right?
Of course, yeah. And which means summer's end. And it was believed that on this night, the boundary between the living and the dead grew thin, allowing spirits to cross into the mortal world. People lit bonfires to ward off evil spirits and wore animal skins or masks to disguise themselves. from wandering ghosts. Offerings of food and drink were left out for the spirits and the Alsi, or I know I'm not pronouncing that right. It's got to be pronounced different than that. But the fairy-like beings.
Yeah, that looks like a hard word to pronounce. AOS space SI. Alsi. It wasn't just ancestral spirits. It could be mischievous or even malevolent spirits. To avoid being recognized or kidnapped by these spirits, people would wear disguises or masks. It's a direct precursor to the modern tradition of wearing Halloween costumes.
And then with the 8th century, Pope Gregory III designated November 1st as All Saints' Day or All Hallows' Day to try to replace the pagan festival. And what looks like Irish immigrants brought Halloween traditions to North America in the 1800s, 19th century, especially during the potato famine when they came over. What I'm more curious about is this belief that the boundary between the living and the dead grows thin around that time period. Because isn't that the same belief in the Day of the Dead in Spanish cultures? In Spanish culture,
that's exactly the same belief. Yeah,
yeah, and unless they got that belief, just came to them from the Celts, because the Celts weren't settled there, but things travel.
Well, I find a theory very interesting that the collective consciousness, we all got together and agreed upon a certain point around the sun that we would all agree that this sort of phenomenon happens through the collective. We're creating this thin veil to where through everybody's joined energy, so it's actually happening.
That's an interesting perspective. And hey, if you take the quantum physics view that our consciousness is creating reality, then mass belief has to have amplified power. So if you can get enough people to believe that the veil is thin, then the veil is thin.
Right.
I'm just curious about, okay, so Halloween nowadays has been very commoditized, and I'm interested in the Celtic and pagan roots of how to embrace this as a ceremony. Because as you see, like the trees, they turn into skeletons. Like nature is thinning the veil just as it is thinning its leaves. So how can we partake in this ceremony, which, every culture, indigenous culture, has ties with the earth, with the land, and they see this apparent like death, but the death isn't really a death in a certain way. It's like a harvest, even harvesting the legacy that one gets to leave.
The line between death and life is thin in nature. I like that in fall, and in a way it is. Yeah, it is. But that could just be, why wouldn't that just develop as this is a festival to mark the end of life? Fall should mark, if spring is new life in adolescence or in its teenage years, in the full vigor of youth, and summer is full life, fall would be old age. So why wouldn't it just mark kind of the preparation of death, instead of a thin veil being able to bridge the boundary between the living and the dead?
So the modern paganism in Samhain, one of the 8 Sabbats, seasonal festivals in the wheel of the year observed by modern pagan and Wiccan traditions, for them it remains a deeply spiritual time. It's a time for reflection. It's a solemn period to remember and honor those who have passed away. It's letting go. It symbolizes death and ending, making it a time for introspection, releasing old habits, and coming to terms with morality. It's the third harvest, known as the Harvest of Bones. It completes a cycle of the agricultural year, and marking the new year for most Wiccans and pagans, Samhain is still considered the spiritual new year.
Yeah, I just got a little bit more along those same lines. So how did you pronounce the Celtic holiday?
Samhain. I put it on the cover page. Sahwin.
Samhain was one of the 4 major fire festivals, alongside some others here that
they're like
I'm
the Beltane fires.
Yep,
which is the spring equinox.
That's got to be the only one of these that is pronounced the way it looks.
Show me, I can't see it.
So you've got what looks like Imbolc, Imbolc, then Beltane and Luxanda.
Go for it.
Lagasanda? Laganasanda?
Luganas. It's Celtic, so it could be completely different than what it looks like.
Let's see. How do we pronounce this? It is pronounced Lunasa.
Lunasuda.
Yeah. Luna. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong. Or the first part.
Lunasa.
What, two variations, either Lunasa or Lunasuda. Okay. But so they had 4 major fire festivals marking a threshold in the year. In Celtic cosmology, the thresholds, doorways, crossroads, dusk, dawn, and seasonal turnings were points of contact between the physical and the spiritual realm. So because Samhain marked the ultimate threshold, it was seen as the time when the other world, the spirit world, overlapped with our world. So spirits, fairies, and ancestors were believed to move freely between worlds on that night.
I wonder how these festivals affect grief within a community. Like, y'all ever heard the happiest village in Africa? This reporter went to Africa. He asked these people, why are they so happy? And they described their grieving ritual of how they would all come together. Like a woman came and she was grieving the loss of her loved one. And all the people in the community would step out of their storefront and they would grieve with this woman. And they would hold that space. And when there's too much of a charge on your nervous system, that's going to cause harm. But when this charge can be held by a large group of people, the community can process this grief in a really healing and transformative way. Where at the end of the ceremony, a trusted person takes this person back home, and the next morning they wake up feeling a lot better. And after learning about this, the reporter's just like, okay, so that's cool, but like, why are you the happiest community in the world? And they're like, we're so happy because we cry so much. And that element of grief in community held as a ritual, where if these cultures are coming together to honor the dead, there's going to be a lot of pain when it's brought up. And being able to hold this ceremony where you're able to honor those who have passed in a way that it's not too much. There's actually a place and a time to process grief.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think all of our major holidays definitely have a cultural impact that's kind of been built into them of serving some function for us as a culture, as a society, and then there's always the element of, and personally, this is not my view, but this is the more scientific view of looking at this holiday, of just saying, well, primitive man didn't understand the seasons changing. They saw the days getting shorter. They saw the autumn mist. They saw the longer nights, and it made them feel eerie and uncomfortable. And so they made this up to explain it away. Personally, I don't take that viewpoint. I think it is it's thinking too little of our ancestors to think that they didn't understand the basics of the 4 seasons of the year. I think if you make it to adulthood, if you live long enough to make it to adulthood, you're not shocked when you see the seasons change. There's not been a time in my adult life that I've ever gone, oh my goodness, so the seasons are changing. So that makes me think there's got to be something else that made them come up with this particular idea. And it just looked to check. Apparently Day of the Dead doesn't come from the same tradition.
No. Completely
Independent, and they came up with the same idea. So Day of the Dead comes from an Aztec tradition, so across the ocean, but they had the same idea that the dead are able to come and visit on that.
I think that
day.
reinforces the collective consciousness theory.
Yeah. I could. That one makes sense to me. Or at least there's something there. And if you believe that there are other realms more than the one we can see, that maybe we exist in multiple realms, maybe that's just a time period when another realm is more in sync with ours. So more things become visible.
Yeah. Have you ever seen, talking about somebody being surprised that the seasons changing, like people from the South that have never been up to like Colorado, they're like, oh my God, the leaves are changing and this and that and blah, 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 right?
That was me.
And I went to school at University of Northern Colorado my freshman year. We had a bunch of exchange students from Hawaii that have never been to the mainland. And the first snow, oh my God, they were ecstatic. They were outside, outdoors, in their flip-flops, because that's all they fucking wear, in the snow until 8 o'clock in the morning the next morning. I'm like, you guys are still out here?
Yeah.
They're like, this is the first time we've ever seen snow before. And they just played in it all night. And it was so interesting to see how like pure their excitement was for something so simple that we take for granted every day, because we've seen it our entire lives. We see all 4 seasons here in Colorado.
Yeah, but I mean, so I grew up in Louisiana and then South Carolina, and in those spots we don't really get snow. Like once while I was living in Louisiana, it snowed, and it was a pitiful amount of snow, but we went out there and we made snowmen and
It's more ice storms and stuff out there, isn't it?
Yeah, but trust me, we'll go out there and make a snowman in that if it falls from the sky and it's frozen. But all the same, even though like Louisiana is like subtropic, you're right above the equator zone. We still had there's still 4 seasons. They might not be as pronounced, like, and you could say Colorado summer isn't as pronounced, but no matter where you go, you still have the changing of the seasons. And that's and it's weird that at that time, that's when this threshold apparently is weaker, and not at some other time, not in the spring when there's new life, there's not some other beings then. You would think the fairies would come in the spring.
They're there too.
I think, yeah, fairies are everywhere. I have a care fairy that visits my house every once in a while. She comes and cleans.
If I saw one, I would want to see them in springtime, but I guess I'm thinking too much of like Fern Gully, if you ever seen that movie.
Oh, I love Fern Gully.
Yeah.
It was meant to be like a message to us to try and change everybody's thinking about how destructive we were with our way of life. So I found some stuff about Samhain, like the actual ceremonies, because Scottie was interested in some of the ancient ceremonies. Okay, so the sacred bonfire would start on the eve of Samhain. Every household in the community would extinguish their fires in their own hearths. And then they would do a druidic fire lighting. The druids, the Celtic priests, would light a massive sacred community bonfire using a sacred method, often a wheel or friction. This fire was seen as a protective and possessing, purifying power. Communal gathering and feasting. The entire community would gather around this fire. This was a time of great feasting, using the last of the harvest and the animals that were slaughtered before winter. I mean, you always got to have food at any great ceremony, in my opinion. Then they do relighting of the hearth fires. After the ceremonies, each family would take a flame or ember from the sacred communal bonfire back to their own home to relight their hearth. This act connected every home to a protective power of the community fire and symbolized unity and hope for the coming dark months. Honoring the ancestors and the Ishi, spelled A-O-S-S-I, the Celts, the veil between the world and the living and the world of the spirits, the other world, was at its thinnest on Samhain. This led to key ceremonial practices. Welcoming the ancestors. This was believed the spirits of deceased relatives would return to visit their homes. To welcome them, the families would set a place at the table for them and leave out offerings of food and drink. A practice known as dumb supper. Interesting. Appeasing the Siwi, often translated as fairies or nature spirits, were also highly active. These beings were powerful and could be mischievous or vengeful. To earn their blessing and avoid their tricks, people would leave offerings of food and drink outside the doors or at the edge of the village. Divination rituals are interesting because the future believed to be more easily seen during this liminal time. Samhain was a prime time for divination, especially for young people concerning love and marriage. Many involved apples and nuts, symbols of immortality and wisdom. Apple bobbing, which is still seen today. Young women would try and bite an apple floating in a tub of water. The first to succeed would be the first to marry. Kind of like a bouquet of flowers at a wedding, I imagine. Apple peeling. A person would peel an apple in one long, unbroken strip and throw the peel over their shoulder. It was believed that the peel would form the first initial of the future spouse's name. Oh, that's interesting. Can you read the apple peel, Scottie?
I haven't learned how to do that yet, but I'm always learning new things.
That's interesting. Nut divination. A couple would place 2 nuts representing them near the hearth fire. If the nuts burned quietly together, it meant long and happy union. If they cracked or popped apart, it signified strife. And then it goes into guising and disguises. The disguise themselves from the LC so they wouldn't be recognized and kidnapped or harmed as they moved about in the dangerous spirit-filled night. And then the ritual exchange, these geysers would go from house to house, reciting verses or songs in exchange for food offerings.
And these these fairies, they ended up becoming a few different mythological creatures, right? Because that's the same story for the leprechauns, that they had to leave things out for them. You basically wanted to be on the leprechaun's good side. You didn't want to be on their bad side, because if you're on their bad side, they were mischievous folk. Apparently these same beings inspired the story for the Headless Horseman.
Okay. How does that work?
Well, because he was supposedly a dead fellow who came back from, came back on that night when the veil is thin.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, decapitated or wandering spirits often appear in, I'm going to mispronounce the other one. It's in Samhain.
Samhain is correct, yeah.
In Samhain stories, yeah. Okay, yeah. Decapitated or wandering spirits often appear in Samhain stories, symbolizing souls who cannot rest between worlds. So the Irish Dullahan, a headless horseman carrying his own head, rides out on dark nights, especially around Samhain, calling the names of those about to die. So that same figure later evolved in other ghost stories, inspiring Washington Irving's Headless Horseman tale.
Very cool.
Yeah. So if because collective consciousness, if that's the reason that the veil is thinning at that time, you think they're firing up CERN on Halloween while the veil's thin,
so they can create a miniature black hole and
create their portal. I don't think they want to make a black hole. I think these people want to make a portal. I think that's what they're trying to do.
I think they've already perfected that if that's what they're doing.
Maybe. Well, if you made a portal that big, what's coming through? We haven't seen anything. Sure is underwhelming.
Maybe it's the Chupacabra.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. We had that on the list too. We've been looking at spooky American legendary creatures
for spooky season.
Yeah, to talk about over the next couple of days. Out of all the ones I looked up, the Chupacabra and the Jersey Devil. Those two were the most intriguing. The Jersey Devil
I'm not familiar with the lore on the Jersey Devil.
Well,
wasn't it a serial killer?
No. It's like a bipedal winged creature. So kind of looked like a flying horse, except for don't think beautiful like Pegasus. Think more like kind of deformed looking and with a weird looking head like more like a bat, but bipedal, able to like kind of graze and fly. I've got to pull it back up. So its origins go back a long time, but people apparently have been seeing it in this one area up there around where is Pine Barrens, New Jersey for some time. See, you can see that image. It looks like a goat's head, this long neck, and that's kind of like the awkward body of a horse, but with these big bat-like wings. The original legend goes all the way back to some lady who lived in the 1700s, who apparently was having her baby and shouted, "Let the child be the devil," while she was having the child. And the baby came out, grew wings, tail and claws and all, and flew out the window. And he is described as a creature with hooves, a goat's head, bat wings, and a forked tail.
Is that all you have to do to summon the devil? Just
say it.
Declare it as your birthing it?
Well, apparently so there have been sightings from 1700s up until even more recent times, but the most famous, more recent sightings were in 1909. There were hundreds of claimed encounters with the Jersey Devil from all over South Jersey and the Philadelphia area, with alleged encounters claiming the creature attacked a trolley car in Manhattan Heights, attacked a social club in Camden, and police in Bristol, Pennsylvania, supposedly fired on it with no effect. People found footprints in the snow, but the sightings all over that little part of the country were just everywhere back then. Could have just been a craze, but to attack a trolley car, if those people are telling the truth, something came at them,
Yeah.
A trolley car is pretty decent size. So what flew at a trolley car and made them think that it was this devilish looking creature?
They could have, 1900s? They could have gotten some St. John's fire. Are you familiar with that?
No, what's that?
Okay, so LSD is derived from the ergot fungus in rye. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they wouldn't notice this fungus growing, so they would make their bread and they would sell it off to the people. And entire communities would unknowingly
start
ingesting a natural form of LSD. This is where like the Salem witch trials are said to occur from. Everybody was just tripping out.
I've read some medieval. There's this one medieval fiction series I love reading about this hangman who basically solves crimes. The hangman was back then in those times.
He was a serial killer solving crimes?
No, he's not he
was an executioner?
He was an executioner, yeah. But they were like looked down upon socially in medieval times. It was horrible. If
that's why they wore a mask, I imagine.
Well, most of the time they didn't really wear masks. That's
really?
Just how they show it to us. But it was a not an honorable thing to do.
Sure.
But it paid, and they were generally skilled. And this guy is basically trying to solve crimes because they're the one who has to enforce justice and literally has to enforce it. And that is just a consistent thing a big thing that happened in the medieval times a lot. People getting that kind of poison. And the church actually using it to manipulate communities into thinking they had a religious episode, that they had some spiritual thing happen to them. And yeah, they were being poisoned by their clergy who were making them trip.
That's pretty awesome.
Right. I just bet with those people, if your priest is poisoning you to make you trip balls like that, and you say you saw a devil, that was your priest. That was the devil you saw. That was your priest.
They have psychedelic churches now.
They do.
Yeah, I've often found that interesting. I'm not sure if I want to partake, but I've always found it interesting.
We talked about Aleister Crowley in a previous episode. His religion that he founded, Thelema, they have a branch here in Denver, and I'm looking it up to see. Yeah, I just looked it up online to see, but yeah.
Do they allow visitors, or do you have to?
I think they allow you to. I think they allow you to come and check it out. I don't know. I haven't reached out to them.
What's it called?
Let's see. It's in Latin there, but the Ordo Templi Orientis, which is the name of his whole order or church. They are the ones that follow that. Co-fraternal organization, similar to Masonry in form and structure. Focus on individual development, personal mastery, and spiritual strength.
Sounds cool. Where do I get my dose?
Where is it exactly? Does it say?
They are located in Lakewood, 305 South Kipling Street.
That's just down the street.
They're doing all their esoteric, ritualistic stuff there. I wouldn't, I have a hard time believing that religion or fraternal organization, whatever they call it, that they're not like literally tied in with the Masons, because Aleister Crowley studied with the Masons and other organizations like that. He studied with the Order of the Golden Dawn before he went and created that. So to me, it just seems more natural that they would send him out to create an offshoot, like another branch of the trees growing, and we're growing another branch, and we want you to found this branch, because he rolled with people like what's the guy who founded Scientology? L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah.
Aleister Crowley was rolling with people like that. He was out there with the big wigs in the Mormon Church, and L. Ron Hubbard. And, L. Ron Hubbard goes on to found Scientology. And I'm just like, well, what are the odds that this guy, Aleister Crowley, gets trained in a very old and powerful secret society like the Order of the Golden Dawn? And then later in life, he ends up he and another one of his close associates end up starting two of the bigger modern age religions. Aleister Crowley founds the modern age kind of esoteric teachings. And then you got the Scientology with L. Ron Hubbard. It's like, is that just birds of a feather flock together and they found each other? Or is there some planning that went into that? I lean toward there was probably planning.
Yeah.
At those Order of the Golden Dawn meetings. That's something we were talking about from a previous episode. So let's see. What the other one, Chupacabra, didn't we have a video here where it looked like somebody had footage from here in Colorado of their of what they said was a chupacabra, might be a chupacabra, from the New York Post. Mystery creature resembling blood-sucking chupacabra shows up at woman's house in freaky footage. So it's Colorado woman scared out of her wits after she was visited by a creepy critter that came in the night. Well, that thing does look scary. Its eyes look like they're glowing, but it could just be, is it just the raw skin there?
Yeah, it looks like raw skin around the eyes.
It's creepy looking.
Looks like a raccoon bear looking thing.
Right? And the way it's standing doesn't help the case of figuring out what it is. Because it's like, it could be a bear, but it's not that big.
Well, some cases claimed that it was a dog or a raccoon or a coyote or something with extreme mange.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, well, it looks like it baffled the commentators, including wildlife officials. Some people guessed a rabid wolverine. And some people guessed a blood-sucking chupacabra. And the lady said that it looked right at her. She said she first saw it last Monday during the afternoon. It didn't run or act afraid of me. It turned and looked right at me. I got the chills and ran back inside. Good move. Good move.
When was this released?
This was April 10th this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then it showed up a second time Saturday night after the woman set out water and food for some stray cats to hang around. I don't know. I think this lady's looking for the chupacabra. Well, if you see that thing, and then the next day you think to yourself, well, I should leave some food out for the stray cats and food and water for the stray cats in this area.
Your brain will generally manufacture details of what you're actually looking for. If you're being positive, you'll find affirmation of that. If you're being negative, you'll find affirmation of that. Yeah. I think she wanted to get more footage of that thing. So I guess the birth of the chupacabra, the lore and the evolution of the legend, it started in Puerto Rico and says 1995, but I feel like it's a lot older than that. Legend ignited in March 1995 in the town of Moca, Puerto Rico, where a series of farm animals, primarily chickens, ducks, and rabbits, were found dead, drained of blood through small, precise incisions. The term chupacabra, Spanish for goat sucker, was coined shortly after a neighboring town of Orocovis, where 8 sheep were found similarly killed, and a witness claimed to have seen the creature. The original description from Puerto Rico were consistent and terrifying. The creature was not a hairless canine, but something more alien. It is a bipedal humanoid, stood on 2 powerful hind legs, reptilian alien features, large black oval-shaped eyes. The spine had a row of sharp spines or quills running down its back, had long arms, thin with 3-fingered claws, and the smell, many reported a foul sulfuric odor.
I did not realize that Chupacabra was that new. The 90s?
No, I feel like I knew about the Chupacabra when I was growing up. I think that's...
This is the Chupacabra, Spanish for goat sucker, is one of the youngest major cryptid legends. But it's fascinating because it emerged suddenly in the 1990s, spreading globally through the media and conspiracy circles. Because of the story that you just mentioned, that story was in 1995.
I think it's a deviation of the Mandela effect, that it actually happened before that, and people were programmed to believe it wasn't.
Yeah, I really feel like I thought that was Chupacabra. I thought that was like Aztec or something. I thought you could go back that far. I thought this was old and tied to the Americas.
What do you think of the Mandela effect, Scotty? Are you familiar with the concept?
With the concept, wasn't it the CERN particle generators creating multiple timelines, and
That's part of one of the theories, but the
Okay.
basic concept of the Mandela effect is that there's a great majority of people that remember something a specific way, and when researched, it wasn't that way. So like the Berenstain Bears is spelled Stein, but they're saying it was Stain, which is bullshit because I remember reading it Berenstain, and then there's been proof. People have the book of Berenstain, not Berenstain, or Fruit of the Loom. Like it always had a cornucopia behind it, but now the logo is just the fruit. Or it's called the Mandela effect because everybody thought Nelson Mandela died in prison, but he didn't die. And everybody remembers the thing a certain way. And there's all kinds of different examples as well. But
CERN is just one of the theories of how.
Yeah, one of the theories of how this happened.
The Fruit of the Loom's my favorite one because that one they straight up said
proven.
that they went around saying that it didn't have that on there.
Yeah, Fruit of the Loom, the company said, no, it's never happened like that. And there's proof. People have pieces of clothing that they've posted on the internet that shows that it was a different way.
I remember reading something saying the government paid Fruit of the Loom to deny the cornucopia.
Well, yeah, that's another one of the theories is that it was intentional, like a government experiment to see how much of history they could rewrite and get away with, kind of thing, like a social experiment, which doesn't surprise me. They're trying to rewrite history all the time or bury history. Like most of our topics are about things that were intentionally meant to be forgotten.
If that's all that's happening with the Mandela effect, then it's really nothing. It's nothing in the short term. In the long term, they can do a lot with that. But if it's our timeline, like if they were actually living in a different timeline than we were before, that's where the whole CERN thing comes in. The idea that whatever they're doing out there has like shifted us to another reality. I think it's probably more likely that the government's trying to see how much they can manipulate and see if we notice.
I think there's also a potential that, we tend to misremember things. We think it's one way and it wasn't actually that way, but we also buy into groupthink.
Yeah.
And when one person is misremembering something and then someone else is misremembering something, then that memory becomes a collective memory that people are both holding on to, even if it's just an artifact of that original essence.
But when you get a large group of people who remember something one way and the internet tells them, no, it wasn't that way, or like the Fruit of the Loom, the cornucopia, who's.
But then it's proven that it was originally.
Then who's fault? Who's falling for groupthink? Are we falling for groupthink if we go into listening to them say, yeah, the cornucopia was never here, or is it groupthink that can lead us to a point like that in the first place, where I always consider that sometimes if you hear something first, that maybe they've planted that suggestion in your mind now. With the cornucopia is not a good example for that one, but Nelson Mandela. It's like with that one, when you hear maybe if we were hearing, didn't Nelson Mandela die in prison? It's implanting this memory of something that was never a memory to begin with, just by hearing that, because our minds imagine it.
I could see that. That's some MK Ultra. Like, let's get into the operating system of the mind, and then just like a hacker, figure out how to hack psychology.
Yeah.
So that way we can adjust the map that society holds. Because if you can manipulate that map, then you can use that map to guide someone in the direction that you want to go. So,
and with the Chupacabra, yeah, I mean, it looks like it did mid-1990s. 1994 is when the story happened. And, it's tied to UFOs, but the one thing that stood out to me when you were describing it is that the smell of sulfur. And when I hear that, my immediate thought is demons supposedly smell like sulfur.
Yeah, fire and brimstone. Brimstone smells like sulfur. What do you know about pyramids and ancient architecture? Do you have any interest in that?
I am interested in the pyramid and energy structures. Granted, I haven't had the pleasure of going down that rabbit hole too deep, but using even like piezoelectric crystals.
That's exactly what I was thinking about in terms of agriculture. I was going to say that because there's a benefit there, right?
As far as piezoelectric crystals, when you put pressure, they create electricity.
Right.
So
Like
if
quartz example.
exactly, yeah. Also, in our pineal gland, there's a yogic practice of bandhas. So it's binding or clenching, and you go from your root all the way to your crown. And as you're doing this, you're pushing cerebral spinal fluid up your spine and pressurizing the piezoelectric crystals in your pineal gland, which is amplifying this electromagnetic field that's surrounding your body.
So, as along those lines, thinking of fields and that sort of thing, one of the things we've talked about in past episodes is how the pyramids and these structures are built, seemingly taking advantage of unseen grids, unseen energy grids, electrical grids, and that sort of thing. And the structure in which they're built is built to take advantage of it. So I'm wondering, when we're planting, gardening, getting ready to grow crops and that sort of thing, I would bet there's got to be some ideal structure using the things like the Fibonacci sequence and that sort of thing to that you could build in that's going to be the most ideal for the plants to grow, for the crops to grow. There's got to be some sort of pattern or design like that.
Isn't there's like a concept now that you should ground your garden. You should surround it in a circuit of wire and then ground that wire. And I don't know if you're familiar with it. I'm not super familiar with it either, but I've seen some things about it, and it's just like your crop grows exponentially.
I've seen videos where people are seemingly giving the soil that their plants are in electricity, just like putting electricity in there in one way or another. It seems to make them grow.
It's very low voltage, but yeah.
I mean, if sunlight is turned into ATP through photosynthesis, and that is, a form of electrical process, then perhaps there's something to it. Like if you are using electricity to catalyze the growth of a cell and the multiplication of a cell, I mean, it's possible. That'd be an interesting form of agriculture.
Yeah, I feel like there was a time where they did it. Like they were building entire
electrical crops?
Or not electrical crops, but huge areas of farmland with things in it to basically draw in electricity.
Like ambient electricity.
Yeah. To basically, draw in the atmosphere's electricity into the plants.
And that's Tartaria there.
And, it makes sense to me that it would be beneficial to them in the same way that it makes sense to me that, like, electricity delivered to us, our own bodies, at the right level, not too much, but should be beneficial because as much as we're a biological creature, we're an electrical creature, It's electricity running through our nerves, running through our brain that's making all the motion happen, making it at all the physical magic come together. It's electricity is running, making that magic of our physical body being alive come into manifest. So there's got to be some sort of way that we should be able to deliver more energy to our system other than just the chemical generation in our stomach. And if plants grow, I would imagine they're using a small amount of electricity for that energy too, for the movement. Because how else do you have a ability to just take something and make it go without electricity?
I don't know.
Everything we make runs with it.
I also wonder about the balance. So just like a plant will grow best in a certain pH of soil, it's looking for that optimized balance. I wonder if there's something similar with electricity, where at a certain point it's going to be tonic and good for the plant, but anything above there, it's going to be toxic. Because, I've seen lightning strike a tree, and that's electricity not
that sets it on
doing
fire.
good things for the plant.
Right.
And people getting electrocuted same way. But yeah, I guess using it in gardening, the proper term is electroculture farming. And yeah, it looks like people have been doing it for a long time.
Mainly hippies. Which includes me.
And that's just so counterintuitive. It's not something that I would think about. And I mean, benefits like reducing pest problems. So having less bugs come over and eat your crops, all because you got some spiraled copper wire stuck in the ground.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Healthy plants are more resistant to pests. The pests typically want to go for like the easiest, most dead thing available. So if there are the spiral is found in so many different electrical designs, especially these like ancient esoteric ones, that it would make sense, especially in terms of all the negative ions, and just when the storm comes through, it's going to affect the energetic makeup of the sky. And if a cloud is bringing moisture, it's probably also going to bring a certain amount of electricity. And when you can really pair those two, I could see it creating an even more ideal environment for a plant to grow.
I'm going to grow me some marijuana, use it with a bunch of these things in there, come up with my own little batch. We'll call it Zeus's blend, So
That's pretty cool.
from the electricity.
I'd be shocked if I didn't like it.
Yeah,
Pun intended.
little THC is always good, which kind of reminds me about our sponsors.
Oh my gosh, but we forgot about our sponsors almost.
But our listeners aren't. They're going to remember.
Well, kind of continuing on the same topic, the sponsor I want to talk about is Good Feels. Good Feels makes cannabis seltzers, and you can find their products at shop.getgoodfeels.com. So they make a unique blend of THC and CBD infused seltzers that you can order online, get anywhere in the States. So whether you're looking for something to have with you at social gatherings, relaxing at home, or just unwinding after a long day, Good Feels is great. Their drinks are meticulously formulated to offer refreshing and enjoyable taste. And if you use our promo code DTL
20% off, DTL 2025, and we get 15% commission on everything that you buy with our promo code.
So relax and support us in the process. Go get you some seltzers from Good Feels. Queue up your Spotify or whatever you're listening to the podcast on, and listen to some Denver Theory Lab and support the podcast with your purchase.
I want to talk about Shimmerwood beverages. They are CBD beverages, seltzers even. You can find those at shimmerwood.com. It's award-winning CBD seltzers combine full-spectrum CBD with natural fruit shrubs, delivering a refreshing, stress-relieving drink that eases tensions and promotes relaxation. Enjoy our discount, which is 30% off, DTL 2025. We get a 15% commission on top of that. And it's great to have just a CBD beverage if you're not trying to get all jacked up. They've got flavors like raspberry lime, chai cherry, ginger orange, and just hemp. We have definitely tried those on the show, and they're awesome to mix with anything or just drink straight up.
Man, a cannabis seltzer water sounds so good right now.
We don't have any in stock at the moment, but...
Well, that's why I'm going to go and find some.
So our other sponsor is...
Prep Starts Now.
PrepStartsNow.com.
Empower your family with the confidence through simple tools and expert guidance. Conquer uncertainty one step at a time. We talk about the end of the world or end of days so much that we would be idiots if we didn't suggest at least one product for prepping for any sort of disaster. With our discount, you get 15% off, DTL 2025. We also get a 15% commission on everything you buy. It's pretty awesome. They got stuff to prep a go bag. They've got like first aid kits, prepared products. They have easy to follow guides and training for disaster response. They've got expert tips and strategies for emergency preparedness, and join a community of like-minded individuals. Share your experiences and find support through prepstartsnow.com.
Yeah, not just end of the world, whether you're just trying to keep your family prepared for a power outage, medical emergency, or just the next camping trip. Prep Starts Now has the products to make sure you are prepared for what comes next.
You guys got some great sponsors.
Yeah, we picked the.
You get to cherry pick whatever you want.
Yeah.
Ooh, all right, that makes sense.
So get this for electroculture farming. I just asked ChatGPT to try to get a little bit more on it. Electroculture farming, or electroculture, refers to using electricity, magnetism, or atmospheric energy to enhance plant growth. And the methods can include running metal wires, rods, or antennas above fields to harness atmospheric or earth electricity. That's one way. Creating weak electric fields through buried copper or zinc electrodes. That's the second way. Using magnetic coils or pyramidal shapes to channel energy to the soil. That's a third way. And leveraging natural ion flow between air and soil, sometimes enhanced by metal conductors, is the final way. But
sounds
the
like
pyramidal shapes.
Tesla's discoveries, or Tartarian, or the pyramid shapes.
It just made my mind go somewhere else. We got these pyramids all over the world. What if the point of the pyramid was partially agriculture? Like I was just saying, like we're electrical creatures. So what if it was grounding everybody who lived around it and making everything that grew around it bloom? Maybe we're supposed to have some big center that pulls into the Earth's energy and spreads it around nearby us.
So in previous episodes, we talked about how pyramids are potentially tapping into the Earth's energy and transmitting it and creating this giant field of energy, because the pyramids of Giza are like the center landmass of that part of the world. So maybe that was the hub. Also, we've talked about how pyramids, potentially some of them from above, look like a cymatic, which is basically the picture of a three-dimensional sound wave.
A frequency.
So maybe it's meant to be a sound or frequency dampener from the center of the Earth, or
dampener or amplifier.
It could be both. So maybe it works as a dampener as well. So maybe the Earth was far too energetic for beings of our stature to be able to live on the surface until they put these dampeners down. So now maybe the pyramids also act as a receiver, to where it receives energy from the Earth and then sends from the atmosphere and sends it back into the ground for us to absorb. There's all kinds of different angles that we discover potentially for pyramids along the way.
So, and the electroculture, some other benefits here. You get less mold or fungus in electroculture test plots, so as compared to regular agriculture. And as I read all of this, I'm just thinking, I need me a device to be pulling this electricity into myself. I'm not trying to get electrocuted like they say Ben Franklin did, but in the same way the plants are absorbing small amounts, like we were saying, the right amount. That's got to be a thing, of humans not being balanced or not having the right amount of charge, not having the right energy, and needing to have their energy balanced. And I would bet the people who are running our world currently are designing it in a way to leave us that way.
So as a community builder who's been doing things for the last 6 years, I have had hippies come into my home with a machine where they're like, hey, this generates an electrical charge that's good for you. And then they extrapolated on all the ins and outs, and I retained zero of it. But essentially, we were all circled up in the room. One person had the electro generator and everybody else held hands, and then they would turn it on to various frequencies, and you'd be able to feel that charge going through everybody's hands.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, isn't that the whole thing that when people say, oh, like hugging a tree grounds you? Isn't that the same basic idea of it's somehow you touching this tree is connecting you to the energy and electrical flow that is present in the earth. And now it's present in you. It's not normally present in us because we wear things like shoes with rubber soles, and it disconnects us from the earth.
I feel like there's a symphony of things going on with hugging a tree. Maybe I'm just a hippie though. So when you look at essential oils, they work on shortcutting emotion. So when you see something, you think about it and then you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
But when you smell something, you feel a certain way and then you think about that. So with all these different types of essential oils have different properties. So a floral one is going to be relaxing, a mint is going to be uplifting, whereas trees are going to be very grounding. So when you're hugging a tree, your nose is right up against the bark and you are getting some of that scent that's hardwired into your brain to be grounding. This is just theory right here, but there's certain postures that will release certain hormones, and oxytocin is the bonding hormone. And when we hug, that produces oxytocin. So if you were to hug a person, you'd absolutely feel it. The theory is that if you were to hug a tree, you would also feel this oxytocin. And that chemical cocktail in your brain
Bonds you to the earth.
Makes you feel more grounded.
Yeah, they say it's like 10 seconds of hugging produces oxytocin in the brain, or 3 seconds of kissing, or, sex, of course, as well. But yeah, just the contact, the electrical discharge or sharing, it produces oxytocin in your brain.
You can even touch your own heart and it will release oxytocin.
Huh.
Yeah. Also, there's the Super Hug Club that y'all should know.
Super Hug
the
Club.
Super Hug Club. My friend Sound, he has this whole project going on, and it is an optimized hug. So most people do a hug where it's right arm up and then left arm low. If you switch that up, you actually line your hearts. So not only is
It's right low, left up?
yeah, left is going to be up, right is low, and then try it out with someone. You'll see that your heart is actually touching their heart, whereas if you were to do the opposite way, it's the opposite side of the chest.
What if you're a foot taller than the person like me?
Nice little bend of the knees and a widening of the stance.
You gotta always do the bend the knee right before. If you time it just right, I'm sure you know this too. We're both tall. If you bend your knees just right before you get ready to hug someone, they don't even notice that you just knelt a little bit, to line up with them. If you do it just right. I've done that many a time, or I'll do it right before I'm getting ready to take a picture with someone. You put yourself at their level and they look at the picture and they're like, oh, how did that happen? That was me.
Yeah. But the real thing is the duration. So it's all about 3 deep breaths with this other person. And by the end of it, it's like 30 seconds. And it will release not only oxytocin, but serotonin, dopamine. If happiness is just good neurochemistry, you're getting the best neuro cocktail around.
Now, is that 3 deep breaths in sync with the other person?
Yep. That's, if you're really looking to perfect the art.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Tell me the name of this again. Super Hug?
The Super Hug Club.
Super Hug Club.
Oh, yeah.
I totally believe that and don't doubt it. I mean, that's like when laying down at night, that's something I already just unconsciously do, of just try to synchronize the breathing when you can already feel it. And there is something that feels good about that, of just like knowing that you're in sync with another person.
Do they have like a social media following, or what is it?
I'm sure they do. Yeah, they even have buttons. Sound has really done good work. I'm sure you can just Google Super Hug Club. He even talks about how we as a society are kind of oxytocin deprived. We should be getting like 13 connections with someone a day. And in this culture, like maybe you'll get a fist bump here, a little elbow here and there. And what happens is we all have a strategy for happiness. And if you're looking through the neurochemical lens, you can have dopamine, which is going to be your capitalistic market. Like how can you get more, and how can you really create pleasure through your senses by the things that you buy. But you also, in this society, we have a loneliness epidemic. So oxytocin, record low. We have depression epidemic. So that's serotonin, like the baseline bliss. Like, how do you feel about your life and how do you feel about the world? That's serotonin. So as a society, we have the opportunity to balance our neurochemistry in a way that will be an optimized strategy for happiness. So being in community where you're getting hugs from people is going to do more for you than buying that next dopamine thing, because we're getting a tolerance to dopamine. You know, we need more and more and more because what we have isn't enough.
Yeah, a lot of benefits, looks like here. We got the oxytocin surge, the bonding hormone you mentioned, then the vagus nerve.
Vagus.
Vegas.
Well, vagus nerve is a different nerve.
Different nerve, probably. Vagus nerve stimulation that regulates rest and digest.
The vagus nerve is huge. Have y'all ever heard of the Bubbles for World Peace movement?
No.
Oh, well, you're about to. So the Bubbles for World Peace movement is all about stimulating this vagus nerve. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things we can do that cues the relaxation response, the parasympathetic nervous system. It's basically things you wouldn't do while being chased by a tiger. Like, you're not going to hum, you're not going to sing, you're going to keep your hat on, you're not going to put it down. But when you're doing things like taking a deep breath and then slowly blowing into a bubble wand, that is stimulating your vagus nerve and it's creating peace within. And then we have mirror neurons. So these are the empathetic neurons where monkey see, monkey feel. So if I witness someone in this transcendently peaceful state, then I'm going to get a little bit of that peace on me.
Yeah.
And as the Bubbles for World Peace movement spreads, you start seeing people blow gratitude into their bubbles and send it off into the sky, just like tobacco smoke for our ancestors. Mm-hmm. So this Bubbles for World Peace movement is going to not only spread like the bubbles, but it's also going to bring in a sense of peace and levity. I've brought bubbles to the front lines before, and it's really hard to be like, oh, they're violent protesters. You see all these bubbles?
Right. Maybe the vagus nerve is why bubble companies sell so many bubbles year after year, because it is something you think of and you just think tranquility, you know? You see bubbles, tranquility.
I've never been angry.
No.
When I see a bubble.
It's hard to be.
I actually recently went to a festival and I was all about my bubbles. And at one point I was just like, oh, wow, these are like my emotional support bubbles.
So
it's real.
So, and then we got endorphins and dopamine, and then the deep pressure therapy parallel. So they even have here at Colorado State University.
Super hug.
Temple Grandin's research at Colorado State University on her squeeze machine showed that deep pressure reduces anxiety and sensory overload in both autistic and neurotypical subjects. So it's just all around beneficial. Produces a calming sensory feedback loop. And then the synchrony and the co-regulation, like you mentioned, just say after a few seconds, your breathing and heart rhythm will synchronize with another person, reinforcing emotional attunement and helping regulate one another's nervous system.
That's world peace right there.
That's pretty cool. That's huge too. That's sounds like how humans are supposed to work, right? You know, where we just being near another person like helps your body like reset and sync itself. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, we touched on this at the very beginning of how we all have different ways of satisfying needs. And when we can satisfy the need for connection with each other, then it becomes a silly thing. Like scarcity of company when there's people all around is just it's a tragedy of society. We're around so many people and we could be having such beautiful relationships. We could stake our wealth in our relationships instead of a money system that's, inflationary. It's the potential for a financial collapse in our lifetime is very real. We have a debt-based currency that can never be paid off. So having a dual system where one system you're investing in personal capital to satisfy needs, capitalism, and then the other system is I'm going to satisfy my needs through community. And when we do that, we can create a dual system. So yeah, we have our money, we have our wallet, we have our 401k, but we also have our friends where we can turn to. And if I can help my friend out with my specialty, I'm going to help him out, and we can leave the money out of it. And the more we can leave the money out of it, the more we can become wealthy together.
Yeah. And there's article after article about it, how there's a loneliness epidemic in the country. So that's it's unfortunate, but we live in a country with so many people, and usually most of the people who feel the loneliest live in the urban areas. They live in spots surrounded by people. You do not see that phenomenon in rural areas. In rural areas, people seem connected with their neighbors, very connected, not lonely. It's then the urban spots where you see this, like you just said, it's so crazy. We're surrounded by people. How could you be lonely?
That's why it's important to find these communities, whether you're out trash hiking with some good people, which, here's the hack. You want to find good people, do good things, because good people are doing good things. I volunteer at a food rescue named Joy's Kitchen, and they've fed 6 million people, or 6 million boxes of food to people in their 12-year history. And every time I go to volunteer with them, I find my second family. There's a sweet little old lady from Brooklyn who goes by Blessed Mother, and she always brings me food. She sometimes finds a dress for me to wear. Like, there's so many great people doing good things. And if you are feeling lonely, go find your local food rescue. Find some people who are picking up trash in the park. They're the people who will give you a big, super hug, and you'll be able to really tap into all the benefits that we're talking about.
Get some of that oxytocin.
Get some big hugs.
All right.
I'm curious about, before we're done, our time's almost done, but I'm curious more about Swan Princess.
Ooh.
Can you explain to our listeners what you kind of explained to me?
Absolutely. So there is parts work that's becoming more popular, or internal family systems. And this is all about creating different archetypes that are on the stage of our life. So me, Scott McKenzie-Lowe, Scottie Mac, when I am meditating on top of that mountain and trying to save the world, that's Scottie Monk. But when you piss me off and my amygdala is all fire in that fight or flight response, I become Stabby Mac. Don't mess with me. Do not mess with me. But there's also Snooty Mac, who's judgmental. There's Stony Mac. There's Slutty Mac. And I just recently discussed with my therapist and discovered Mopey Mac, who deserves a part in the whole stage of life. And Stabby Mac doesn't have to protect Mopey Mac. Mopey Mac could just be. But then there's also Swan Princess. So we have a pull-up bar at our community center, and we have a whiteboard. So we do a competition, and we take tally marks for every pull-up we do. Mm-hmm. I personally don't like doing pull-ups, but Swan Princess, Swan Princess is my gym archetype, and he loves doing pull-ups. Like that, if you ask, do you want to do a pull-up, Swan Princess? He's like, definitely, let's go. So by creating these archetypes, I'm able to unlock different aspects of myself. And the more I become fluent, the more control I have. And the more I can, utilize these different parts of me.
Sounds like
a better me.
Sounds like a way of, being comfortable with different aspects of oneself.
Yeah. And integrating it. There's no bad parts. I used to be so afraid of Stabby Mac. He was the bridge burner, the destroyer of worlds. But when I started to see this anger, that this is a protector. He's really trying to protect me from injustice, and he should be heard out, and he should not be like pushed aside. The more I push Stabby Mac to the side, the more he's going to just come in at the wrong time and do the wrong thing. But if I start realizing that like Mopey Mac has a place as well, and that, you know, I recently had an experience where Stabby Mac came in when Mopey Mac shouldn't have, and it caused unneeded harm. So learning how to work with these parts helps us mitigate harm both for ourselves and others.
We can get down with that.
And we get swole. Yeah, let's do some more pull-ups.
Out of all the life areas that I expected Swan Princess to have governance over, it was not the gym.
Well, I think it's the competitive nature of Swan Princess that really taps into that.
Yeah,
because you know I'm not super into the gym either, but when I think about like I'm doing it for somebody else, then I'm more motivated to do something like that. Or Stabby Jesse comes along and he's like, I can't fucking stand that guy. I'm going to get bigger than him because I'm going to show him, kind of thing, you know? Well, guys, thanks for listening. You can make donations at Denver Theory Lab on PayPal at Denver Theory Lab. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or email us at denvertheorylab.com. Send any questions, comments, or topic suggestions. Thanks for joining us, Scottie. It was great.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really love what you're doing here, and I wish you the best. Let me know when you want me back, because y'all are doing it right, and I really appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
thank you.
Till next time.